Good mythical afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Ayala with another video for you. This is Unit 2, Section 2, The Growth of Trade in Early Explorers. So as always, please make sure that you are listening to the information, writing down your notes, and if I give you any questions, please make sure you answer those as well. So sit back, relax, and let's learn. So to start off, let's look at our three major objectives. First, you're going to be able to explain the 7 steps in becoming a civilization. You should be able to describe the early explorers of the New World, aka North and South America, and explain the effects of the Columbian Exchange. So anytime we talk about a civilization, we got to know what the heck is a civilization. Well, when we look at a civilization, we need to understand there are 7 major steps that any civilization must have, or 7 things, my apologies. So the first one is the social structure, which is a hierarchy of some sort of who's in charge of who. So for example, in the modern day United States, our social structure is represented by socioeconomics, more or less how much wealth you have. With the top 1% on the top, with the least amount of people and the most powerful, with a large amount of people at the bottom who live in poverty or low income, with less power, I should say. From there, we have a stable food supply. So you've got to make sure that you have enough food to allow your civilization to grow. And now that your food supply is stable, you can begin to have specialized or unique jobs, that everyone has a specialization. We can't all be farmers, because if everyone's a farmer, our society never grows or develops. For example, I'm a teacher, I'm an instructor. My specialization is helping students and grow into their best potential. That is my job. If you have me try to build a house, it probably would collapse because I'm not specialized as a carpenter or a construction worker. From there, you'd have some type of government or religious structure in place for control. So in the United States, we have a government that is based off of the U.S. Constitution that is limited in its scope and has various levels through federalism and different branches to keep us protected from tyranny. Or you can have a religious order like the Vatican City. You must have a writing system of some sort. It could even be an oral tradition like how Odysseus, and the Odyssey from ancient Greece, or cuneiform, or like ancient Sumerian, or a Latin-based English alphabet like the United States. You have to have some type of technology. It could be anything from fire to, the latest smartphone or, really nice Wi-Fi. And then a culture, or some way for our society to have some type of cohesiveness. Like in the United States, we do have a common culture. We believe in Republican form of government. We believe in freedom of speech. We also believe in, letting people speak their mind, but we're still not free from the consequences of what we say. We also have no problem, pushing the frontiers. It's something we've always done. So let us begin with some early European explorers, now that we understand what makes a civilization. So the first one is Christopher Columbus. He sails for Spain. He's an Italian. He leaves in 1492. And his goal is to find an all-water route west to India to be attached to the spice trade and slave and gold trades over in Asia. So the Queen of Spain, Isabel, gives him 3 ships, more or less, to go away: Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And as he sails westward, he kind of runs into a whole bunch of islands known as the Bahamas, where the Taino can be found. And he thought it was the East Indies. So he, of course, is going to go, you know what? I'm going to name these people the Indians, because that's where they are and where they're from. Not knowing that he actually landed in a whole entire different world, the New World, as we would call North, South America, and the Caribbean. And this is why we now call them Native Americans, because Indians live in India. Alright, a quick survey some other explorers. We have Amerigo Vespucci, who's Italian, who will sail for Spain. He ends up discovering that what Christopher Columbus ran into was not just a whole bunch of islands, it was actually a whole entire continent. And he's going to name it after himself, America, hence his name Amerigo, just a feminine version of his first name. So then we have Vasco Nuez de Balboa, who will also sail for Spain. He ends up crossing Panama and finds the Pacific Ocean with quotes, because he's really the first European to find it from the New World. So what he actually does is he has his men take machetes and go through the jungle and carry his boat to the other side. And it's kind of an interesting story when you really get into it. Then we had Ferdinand Magellan, which is this guy down here with this awesome dapper hat, he is going to sail for Portugal. He's going to be the first person credited with circumnavigating the globe, as in going around the whole entire globe. From there, we have Sir Francis Drake, who's going to sail for Queen Elizabeth of England. And she'll be Queen Elizabeth's favorite pirate. He was most well known for two major things. One, circumnavigating around the globe. And two, for attacking Spanish treasure ships and bringing them back to England. Which, of course, is going to make Queen Elizabeth I happy because, gold. Now, the final thing we need to review, the Columbian Exchange. So the Columbian Exchange is the exchange of plants, animals, spices, and ideas from one hemisphere to another. From the Eastern Hemisphere, or the Old World, which is Europe, Asia, and Africa, to the New World, which is North and South America, also the Caribbean. So this begins with Christopher Columbus, because it's named after him. And this is about how things go back and forth. And what it will do is begin to build new cultures, like Italian cuisine, or one of my favorite things, pizza. So for example, if you look from, Europe, Africa, and Asia, we get things like citrus fruits, grapes, onions, olives, turnips, coffee beans. What would Mr. A do without coffee? Probably just wither away. We also get things like large livestock, like cattle, sheep, pigs, and horses. There were no horses over here. So the idea of a Native American on horseback does not begin to develop till after 1492, and the Columbian Exchange is fully in effect. Then we have probably the most negative, which is disease from the Old World. Smallpox, influenza, typhus, measles, malaria, diphtheria, whooping cough, the common cold. All of these things come from the Old World. Then you have the New World giving things to the Old World like peppers and tobacco. What's interesting about tobacco is that in history, we like to call this Montezuma's revenge, because it gives all these Europeans who destroyed the Aztecs and other Native American cultures things like lung and throat cancer. So we have this, kind of a, not best joke, but this idea of it being known as Montezuma's revenge. We have things like tomatoes, peanuts. I mean, what would the Russians do without potatoes, or the Irish, or corn, the vanilla, beans, cocoa, or chocolate? Can you imagine the Swiss without chocolate? And so we got to understand that all these effects begin because of this Columbian Exchange. We may like it. We may think it's a positive idea. We may think it's a negative idea. But that's kind of a moot point. Understanding that these exchange of plants, animals, ideas, and diseases is going to change how the whole world is and make the world seem like a smaller place. And as always, don't forget to be awesome.